Taylor. I am the Chief Programming Officer at SeriesFest, and welcome to today's Ambassador Workshop with Elvira Ibragimova, which is presented by Canva and SeriesFest. You're going to learn so much today, both about the art of independent filmmaking, but also how Canva has incredible tools to really support a lot of different stages of filmmaking, all the way through festival and marketing. And I'm not going to jump the shark, as they say in the biz. I'm going to welcome my wonderful co-panelists here. Um, Please, virtual round of applause to our wonderful panel. I already mentioned the fabulous Elvira Ibragimova. I practiced saying that. Are you very proud of my last name pronunciation? Thank you. Wonderful filmmaker, writer, illustrator, graphic designer, and friend who we have had the pleasure of hosting at SeriesFest for a few seasons now, but mostly want to highlight her work that we honored this year with the SeriesFest Outstanding Series Format Deck Award for SeriesFest Season 11, which was just yesterday, I believe. No, I'm kidding. It was in May. Also, we have the wonderful Rebby Silverman, Global Brand Partnerships Lead at Canva, and our Canva Verified Expert, Roger Coles, who's going to walk us through a lot of the demo features today. We encourage you to use the chat, use the Q&A section to ask questions as we go along. We'll get to as many as we can, but this is going to be really interactive. We're going to talk throughout about different features and Elvira's scope of work. But to kick things off, I want to hand it over to Rebby to talk a little bit about Canva.
Hi, everyone. Lovely to see so many people signing on. Most of today's conversation will be with Claire and Elvira and Roger, but just to root us in the Canva of it all and sort of why we're here today, we are going to dive into all things Canva Visual Suite, showing you how to leverage the tool, not just from a pitch deck perspective, but really from production, ideation, and beyond. But before we get into the demo, a little bit about Canva. Some folks might already know this, but Canva's mission is to empower everyone to design. And this was our mission from day one. Our founder, Melanie Perkins, who actually started Canva in her mother's living room in Perth, Australia, was teaching graphic design at university and found it really inaccessible, even as a designer herself. You know, your fonts were in one place, your stock imagery was in another, and Canva came to exist to integrate the design ecosystem into one simple platform. If you use Canva, you'll sort of know what that means. And if you're newer to the product, we'll show you all of that today. And really the idea behind Canva is that anyone can use it. And, you know, it's table stakes in this day and age that we all sort of need to present in a visually compelling way. And it's no longer just the graphic designer's job, it's all of our jobs. And that is obviously very true within the entertainment industry as well. And over the years, we've grown the Canva Visual Suite to include so much. So everything from presentations and social media, which you might be familiar with, but newer doc types like docs and sheets, which just launched a couple of months ago. Canva Video is a big focus, print and websites. So we'll cover a bit of that today in our workshop. And we have 240 million people that come to design on Canva every month. And a lot of those folks are people across the entertainment industry who are using our tools to visualize their ideas, whether that's collaborating with your team to get ideas on a whiteboard, pitching your work, submitting a series format deck to SeriesFest, or creating living, breathing documents to carry on with you as you move forward in your work. So with that, I will gladly pass the mic back to Claire and Elvira to have a conversation.
Awesome. Thank you, Rebby. Well, I think, you know, we are wonderful partners at SeriesFest with Canva, but I can totally attest that everyone I know works in this space and loves using the platform. I was even at an event last night and people were going, I did this in Canva. So I do think, you know, this really fits into what we're doing to support emerging filmmakers, like the fantastic, wonderful, quirkily talented, makes me laugh every time we get to hang out, like guttural laughs. I love seeing all of your work every year. Please welcome Elvira Ibragimova. Yay, hooray, woo, yay. Well, I want to, we're going to talk a lot about your different projects today, but I think the one we're really going to focus on for the demo portion that I want to make sure we can kind of familiarize the audience with is Bliss Talent, which was just at SeriesFest season 11. Can you give us the log line? It could be a longer log line of what the series is.
So Bliss Talent, which was created by Rachel Ravel, who is so wildly talented and so funny, and whom I met at SeriesFest a couple of years ago. Like my first time at SeriesFest, we met at like the midnight screening, which was so funny, and she was a part of that. So she created this series, which we then kind of rewrote together, and I directed and she starred in, and it's about a children's talent agent in like kind of like a small town in Texas, and she's insane and like very selfish and really only cares about herself and like does not really care about like any of the kids that she represents. And it's this is a pilot just about, you know, a little bit of growth for her, but not a ton. You know, so yeah, it was shot like a mockumentary style. We were really inspired by, you know, obviously every Christopher Guest movie ever. We watched like Waiting for Guffman and Best in Show, and very much inspired by The Comeback with Lisa Kudrow, which we both love. And so I think we just wanted to like have this project be a send up to those shows that we really loved. And yeah, it was a really challenging, very fun project. I feel like it was just one of those, it's such a perfect meld of like, we met at SeriesFest with two very different projects. And I feel like Bliss Talent is kind of this marriage of like our two styles. And yeah, it was so fun. And it was such a blast to then premiere it at SeriesFest. Like that was like our number one. We were like, as long as we get into SeriesFest, so we get to, you know, tell like our little origin romance story, you know, on stage, then this will have all been worth it. And then, yeah, just making the deck for it in Canva. That was kind of my first time, like really digging into Canva and using it. Because at that point, I was like aware of it from the festival, and now I'm like, I can't use anything else. No, I can use other things, but like this is
But
look, I can still use other things. Um, but
well,
yeah,
how did you get into independent filmmaking? Because you have a background that is in architecture. Did I make that up?
yes.
Okay.
No, you didn't. Right.
That would be like a wild thing for me to make up, I think, but I'm so
Like
glad.
you strike me as an architect. I
Yeah,
look at you and you're just like serious,
yeah.
disciplined. No, I was an architect until I was like in my 30s. Filmmaking was not even a twinkle in my eye. And you know, I was working at this like architecture firm in New York. I was living large, you know, like in the office until 2 a.m. every night. I felt very cool. And then I wanted to like drop my coolness factor. So I started taking improv classes to blow off steam. And it's like a cult that sucks you in. Anybody who has taken improv knows like it's so fun and it's so delightful and joyful. And that just kind of you know, spiraled into me then starting to like write sketches, you know, put them up together with my friends. And then, you know, and like I was at like a really serious firm. And it was kind of like I was like living this double life. Like I was like designing a building for like Uber and the Golden State Warriors at the same time that I was like, and time to go do farts on stage. And but eventually that like was I couldn't really keep up both. And there was a luckily around that time, Second City was doing this like year-long directing program in Chicago that was like directing for improvisers or like you know, like using improv as a tool in your directing style. It was called the Harold Ramis Film School. And so I was like, oh, it's a year. I can go and just test out if I like it. And then of course I loved it. And that spiraled into me moving to LA, and I started directing TV for Nickelodeon. So I directed a bunch of like multicam. I ended up directing on Jimmy Kimmel for a bit, but alongside that, I was constantly directing like my own indie stuff, which is what has ended up at SeriesFest a few times. But as much as I'm like, oh, I wish I had known at 18 that I shouldn't spend like 10 years of my life in architecture, I am really, really grateful for it, because the discipline that I learned from architecture really carried over into directing. And also like truly like the visual graphic design, the, sort of like all of this stuff that I do for the pitch decks, and like, oftentimes with indie stuff, you have to wear multiple hats. Like my extra hat that I get to wear is like storyboarding, pitch deck designing, poster design, all of this stuff, because I'd been using like the Adobe Suite since I was in college. And so you do so much of that as a filmmaker, as an independent filmmaker, that it was like, it was just such a gift to already have all of those skills from architecture. So I guess no regrets other than the student loans from the wrong
Yeah.
career. But truly, like, and I think when, like I like learning Canva, I think was very, it just felt like natural. I'm sure it would be natural for anybody, but it just felt like I was like, oh, I'm sure there's like all of these like architecture firms right now using Canva. Like I'm just assuming, just because I'm like, oh, I could see so many, I use it right now just for filmmaking, but I could see so many applications for it in like a quick presentation, and just especially how it's so easy to like be the chief designer of whatever's happening, but you can like share it with team members who aren't designers, and it's very accessible, which I remember that being like something that could be helpful in architecture. And it's certainly helpful in film, because not your whole team is not like all visual designers, and it's such a great communication tool.
That was the
Did that answer your question in a very short,
It
succinct
did.
way?
And I'm gonna need you to send me some blueprints at some point. I want to take a look. But actually, that was a perfect segue into bringing Roger in, which we're gonna do a format a little differently than we have for our previous ambassador and Vanguard workshops, where we're kind of gonna have Roger hang out with us a little bit more and do some live demoing as we're doing some of this conversation. And one of the big things we wanted to start with is working collaboratively. And really a question being, you already talked about you worked with Rachel, you met Rachel. I'm assuming she doesn't live right next to you, and there was probably a lot of, collaborative online passing things back and forth. So if you wouldn't mind like kind of kicking us off with talking about your collaborative process with her or with Heather, who we love, because I know you guys do a lot of producing work together. Heather Mingo, who has been at SeriesFest many times. And yeah, just like your process of working with a team and using Canva to elevate that.
Me, right? Not Roger.
I think, Roger, unless you wanted to show off
Unless
any.
you want to tell us about Heather. No, it was, so Rachel is in New York. So yeah, it was, I think she maybe came out like once or twice in pre-pro, but really it was, it was mostly like working remotely, and a lot of that was like script sharing. So I don't know if Canva is I don't think we use like Canva in the script writing phase, but certainly for like sharing like lookbook ideas. And the one thing I like so badly wish I knew about, or I don't know if it didn't exist yet, but like the whiteboard. How old is that? Because I started using that after learning about it from like this year's and I wish I had that. Like now I use that for everything. And actually like Rachel I now work for, I like freelance for Rachel's company as a graphic designer, and it's like an architecture sort of like sustainable company. And I have just, they all use Canva. And so like this whiteboard has been such a gift because it just feels so, so collaborative. And they're in New York, and like, you know, we'll just like throw up a lot of like images that we find. You can also like generate images in Canva. And so, yeah, I look back on now.
Let's see a whiteboard.
Yeah, let's do a whiteboard. But yeah, it was, I feel like that's like such a great tool for pre-pro, the whiteboard, because you could just share it with, you know, your production designer, your you know, your costume designer, everybody who needs to sort of be on the same page. And like, let's face it, for indie projects, there is oftentimes like people in different cities, and you don't
Everywhere.
really have the financial luxury to like be in the same room for months and months leading up to it. So yeah, I think the whiteboard is like currently my favorite thing. And I'm using it in I have a shoot coming up in a week, and I'm just like all over that whiteboard. I'm like little, you know, just Roger, I'll let you take over.
I want to see this whiteboard.
Mine is chaos. I'm sure whatever you
have.
have is like clean and nice. Mine is like it looks like a second-year architecture student like threw up on it.
I'm sure it's awesome. I'm sure it's great. All right, well, let's talk about it. Okay, so first of all, we have to mention that there are an entire suite of templates at canva.com/entertainment that you can grab and customize. So it's a really great starting point if you don't want to start with just a blank canvas, which can be a little scary sometimes. And so we're going to go over here and we're going to open up a whiteboard. You'll see that we have TV and film whiteboards. And let's say that we want to start with plot and story brainstorm. So I'll open this one up. And whiteboards are amazing. They're going to be a little bit different than some of the other Canva designs that you'll work with. And the first thing that you'll notice is that this is an unlimited space, right? So when you're brainstorming in person, you may only have a wall or a section of a wall to stick a bunch of sticky notes on. But using a whiteboard, you can see that we can zoom out. Look at all of that beautiful white space, just waiting for some brilliant ideas, right? And so if you want to zoom out, then you'll see a slider down here at the bottom. You can zoom out, you can zoom in. If you want to move around the canvas, if you hold the space bar, then you'll see that you can actually like just grab it. You'll notice that the hand kind of changes. That's another unique thing about whiteboards that you won't see in other Canva designs. And then you'll also notice that in the Elements tab that there are a few bonuses over here. One of those things being sticky notes. And then if we scroll down, you'll see that we have whiteboard graphics. So these are really great if you want to collaborate, you want to jump in and tell someone like you really love their idea, then you could go ahead and say like, ooh, I love it so much. All right, so let's go ahead and add a sticky note now with a keyboard shortcut. Can anyone guess in the chat what the keyboard shortcut is for sticky note? Go ahead. 3, 2, 1. Time's up. Yes. Oh, close. Shift S. It's actually just S. Boom. If you hit S, it's going to automatically add a sticky note. And the thing I love about that is that it automatically adds the name of whoever added that sticky note. So everybody's going to get credit for their ideas, and you're able to kind of like track the creative process. All right, so I'm going to open up a whiteboard that I've already kind of been brainstorming with here.
I just saw a screenshot of Rachel.
I know, but it's the wig.
Don't worry about that.
Don't look.
We'll come back to that. All right. So I have my log line here under plot and story brainstorm, where we've got Bliss Talent following the departure of her star client, Tammy Bliss. And we've started to work on the script breakdown. So again, that's one of the things that Elvira talked about is not being in the same location no longer has to be a barrier to moving things around on a storyboard. And so we started to put in all these different sticky notes here. The other thing that Elvira mentioned was the visuals, right? Being able to put together some lookbooks And so you have access to Canva's entire photo library where you could start to pull in together maybe different settings or even ideas for costume. We have a stage curtain here. All these elements help to tell the story visually. And so you can see I've got a bunch of different keywords over here of some ideas that I may want to add in for this mood board. And so I'm going to just grab this one here and we'll copy that. And we're going to search the photo library by coming over to the object panel. That's what this little bad boy is called here. And we'll go to the elements tab. And then in the search bar, we'll just drop in denim jacket close-up. You'll notice there's a lot of denim in Bliss Talent. And we're going to go, you'll see a bunch of different tabs. So we have photos, graphics, videos, frames. I'm going to go to photos. And then if I just click and drag, it's going to automatically be pulled in to our design and replace whatever was there. All right, we can also add in all of our different characters. And then if you happen to not be able to find the image that you love, like the image that you need, you can generate that image right here within Canva by using Magic Media. So again, I wrote down a couple of different ideas for prompts or things that I'd like to see as a part of our visual branding. And so I'm going to grab this one right here, Rundown Theater with Bliss Talent lettering on the marquee sign. And to generate an image, we're going to go again over to the object panel on the left-hand side, but this time we're going to go down to apps. And you can scroll down and you'll see that we have Magic Media here. If for whatever reason you don't see that, then you could always search for it right here in the search bar at the top. So we'll open this up, and this is where you'll enter in whatever prompt that you want to describe the image that you'd like to be generated. You could choose a bunch of different styles, photography, digital art, and I usually just honestly leave that alone. Canva does a pretty good job. And then I'm going to change the orientation by going here to square, and I'm going to choose portrait. And then I'll click generate images, and Canva will do its thing. It's going to give us about 4 different images that hopefully will do a good job of adding in that text. And in this case, it did a pretty good job, right? So let me add this one in here. We'll make it bigger for you to see it. Boom. And then you can see here are a few other ones that I generated as well, just in case we wanted a blank one so that we could add in our own text that we could customize, maybe based on dates, different events that are happening. We want to swap that stuff out. Pretty cool, right? All
Very
right.
cool.
So once you're done and you've spent all this time, no one wants to have to like copy and paste this somewhere, right? That's going to take a lot of time. And so Canva makes it easy by being able to resize this, and we're going to change this and transform it by going up here to resize, and we're going to scroll down and click on transform into a doc. I'm going to choose summary, and what this is going to do, it's going to take all of the information that is on this whiteboard. It's going to distill it down into a summary that we could then send to our producer or our writing team so that they could get a little picture of what it was like, what happened in that brainstorming session. And we'll open this up, and here we go. An easy summary based on everything that we talked about. We'll talk a little bit more about Canva docs and how you can edit those a little bit later on, but that's it for me. Now I'm going to hand it back to Claire and Elvira.
I don't know if you feel the same way, but I feel like when I watch Roger do this stuff, like I'm also actively taking notes because
I know. I just learned like 2 more things. I'm like, I don't want to look too stupid, but I'm like, I didn't know about this orientation thing. Because that was always, I was like, ah, man, perfect generated image, but it's landscape, so I have to trash the whole thing.
Yeah.
That was
Did
really
you do a lot of image, I think we kind of talked about like the denim jacket. That's like a great one to kind of talk about, but like finding those like textures and things like in Canva to use in your deck.
Yeah, I feel like the denim textures was like the chief thing that I leaned on the generative images, because I think you know, when it comes to things that are like really specific designs, like I enjoy like drawing that myself. So like I don't maybe need to use the generative design, but for things like a denim texture, like I don't know how to create that myself. And I would just be like kind of scrubbing Shutterstock for years looking for like the perfect one. And this was just like such a easy, easy shortcut to do that. So and then in addition to that, I think like as inspiration, this is like a really good tool because like Roger said, sometimes there isn't like the perfect image. And one thing sometimes like you want to use like existing films and like screen grabs to share the mood with some people. And other times, like as a director, I'm like, okay, there's a shot that I really want to copy, but it's from a horror film. And if I share this still, people start to get their own ideas about what you meant by sharing like a horror film grab. And so sometimes I just get like so lost in like looking for the perfect thing in shot deck without like also infusing this wrong idea or like wrong message because you've used like the wrong movie, but they just happen to have like the perfect, close up or the perfect so I think sometimes that is a useful place to use like generative images because you don't want to like have the baggage of like
Right.
a certain project and then also you're not there to like give all
Explain
this like this word vomit like explanation to be like, okay, it's from Saw 5, but I don't want anybody to think that we're making Saw 5. We're making Best in Show, not Saw 5. And so I think that's where it's like helpful as an inspiration. But yeah, textures is like, I think that's the perfect place to use this tool because you will just get so much. And also like we wanted like denim with like bejeweled sort of, I don't know, tassels and like bedazzled things. And what?
It was very specific. It was
It was
very,
so specific. I couldn't believe how specific we got about this denim, but
yeah. Um, what is like your strategy like going into production, like and getting those ideas across? Like especially if, I think from a director's point of view, like how are you building these visual documents and then sending them to your team, or are you having like meetings? Like what is the kind of the strategy from the top of illustrating your vision of what you want in Bliss Talent?
yeah, I mean, it obviously like varies from project to project. Like Bliss Talent, we had a huge team. Like this short I'm filming in a week has like a skeleton crew, so there's not many people to share this with. So it's more for myself to keep like, reminders to myself of like visual ideas I had. I think with Bliss Talent, because I think especially for Bliss Talent, because it was a different creator than me. So like we really had to be on the same page about like the like what we meant when we're like, oh, this guy needs to be funny like this. And so like I remember, Rachel and I went back and forth on like the theater director guy because she was picturing this like she was like, he's wearing a bolo tie and he's this, and I was like, oh, I got it, I got it, I totally get it. But then I did not get it at all until we, I think, shared like a bunch of images and we're like, oh, okay, he's this, he's like, he's forced to wear a bolo tie and a cowboy hat, but he's actually like a little theater nerd who's like, stuck in this small town and he's sort of dressing the part of a rancher, but he is, a heartfelt like theater nerd. And I think I was like so quick to try to understand what she meant that I jumped to completely the wrong idea at first. And so I think it is really helpful to have like, no, it's like, let's pull a bunch of images, let's pull a bunch of ideas that it's this type of guy, he looks like this, he acts like this, which is like, that's, if you don't understand that nuance and then you get to set and it's like too, I'm obviously like once we're on set, I'm directing and there's like a chain of command, but it's so helpful to nail down that like consensus before you get to the point where you're having to explain it to a bunch of other actors while staying true to the original vision of like the person who hired you. So, and I think that that is something that I I didn't use Canva at all at Nickelodeon, but I think like I am gonna take that tool with me the next time I have like a multicam episode, because there you're really like interacting with like a
Right.
bunch of different departments, and they really have the tools to like make whatever you want. So like
Yeah.
really the world is your oyster. So if you whatever images you find, like the there's like it's like the Nickelodeon props department can
Yeah.
make whatever you want. So to be visually communicative is like really important there.
Yeah, I think, when I'm thinking about like questions for today and how we're kind of going through this flow is like the evolution to getting things from idea to screen, and then the other side, once you have your finished project, is, oh, you know what? It's okay. My dog just
Let's
barked.
show it
Cat
once and
says hello, so I
yeah.
get it. It's really, getting kind of taking these things that you have with you from the very beginning and almost like as they go with you through the process, and how they like shift and they become part of your strategy and what you need in the time. And they, again, even from whiteboard to format deck, this becomes like a living, breathing document that is actually helping you get through this entire process. And
Also,
written
on
eventually.
indie projects too, like sometimes you lose a department head and a
Right?
different person has to replace them. And I think like
That's
it's
a
so
huge.
helpful to keep a document, like a visual document of like, okay, so they had to pull out like this is all of their work, this is what we already have, this is what we don't have. And like I did that a lot with like Excel spreadsheets, like the fact that Canva has like Excel spreadsheets, like I love a spreadsheet. And I feel like that is something that I use constantly with my team to be like, have a checklist, who's in charge of this, like let's have a drop down of who's in charge of this. If somebody either has to leave the project or is bringing on, like let's say like the production designer gets an art assistant like late into the game, to have that ready for them and to be able to collaborate in a very like administrative sense. um
100%.
and then I think with the thing that I know I said this before when we met, but like the fact that there's like the full suite and that you can change document, like transform documents,
Summary
I
thing.
think makes this like this is why this tool to me is like superior, because me having to share like my somehow like translate my InDesign document that I've been keeping for my own little, in my own little cave, into like an Excel spreadsheet that then I would use with like Google Docs and blah, blah, blah. It's like a ton of work.
Yeah.
And it's a ton of just like kind of grunt work that that maybe could be fun, but it's just like, I'm just wasting time.
When you're an independent filmmaker, your every moment is counting, right? Like it's not like working on a big production where you have like a huge team. Like you're really like every penny has to work harder to get the dollar to count. Um
Yeah.
and oh, I don't know where Roger went, but we're talking about all of these film and entertainment kind of templates that can be helpful. Oh, there he is. I love when
I'm
he comes,
back.
don't you? But I feel like we were kind of naturally flowing into like how the Canva also has these like different types of documents. And a little peek behind the curtain for everybody. We've had a few rehearsals where we're watching Roger do this stuff and learning about these things, and being like, wait, Canva does what? So these are definitely things we have plotted to show you today to be very helpful with your production as well as your series format deck. So Roger, handing to you.
For sure. All right. Well, let's get into it. I think one of the things that I'd love to show before we get into all the doc stuff is the pitch deck stuff. Is that cool?
Oh, yes. Okay. I jumped
Okay.
the shark. I keep saying it. I said it
No,
yesterday, I got a big laugh, and now I just can't stop.
no, you're good. You're good. All right. So let's go ahead. Again, we're going to hang out here. This is our sweet spot for all the goodies, canva.com/entertainment. But this time we are going to look at pitch decks. And Elvira kind of mentioned like you're putting a brand together, right? Even just in the mood board process, you're starting to create this look. And she talked about textures and backgrounds and things like that. And if you can set up your brand kit, then you're going to be able to customize all these templates that we're talking about so quickly and so fast. Like within minutes, you're going to see it, I promise. But the first step is finding the template. And so what I would recommend is if you already have an idea for the look of what your pitch deck is going to be, maybe find a template that closely resembles that. So for instance, right here, we have a few that have like script font. So maybe that would be what you would choose if you knew that that was part of your branding. Or if you have something that's really bold, maybe you'd go with The Reckoning or Abyss of Deceptions, Make or Break, maybe even Shattered Illusions. And as I was looking at what Elvira put together with Bliss Talent, I noticed that it was very like scrapbook vibey, right? And so I thought, okay, this one right here, I know is going to give me that look. And so there's going to be less work that I have to do to this template to really make it fit with the style that I'm looking at. And so this is the one that we're going to start with today. And so I've got that pulled up right here. But before we can start customizing this template, we want to make sure that our brand kit is all set up so that it only takes us a few minutes to customize this. And to do that, you start at the home page over here on the left-hand side, and you'll see that we have brand. So if we open up that, you'll see we have brand kits, brand templates, brand controls. And under brand kits, that's where I have a bunch of different clients that I work with. And so I keep all of their brand kits here because it's going to be easy for me if they like are a returning client to just jump into their brand kit and start making changes. So I've created one here for Bliss Talent. And this is where you're going to put in things like your logo. You'll add in all of your colors from your color palette. If you need to add in a new color, you would just click on this little plus sign here. And you see this little like string of letters and numbers. That's what identifies that color. So if you have like a brand kit or something already set up, then you would just copy the hex code from that and drop it in here. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, then I'll show you. So for instance, we have this background color here. And if I click on this background color up in the toolbar, over here, if I click this plus sign, you'll see this is the string of letters and numbers, right? So that is what I would take back to our brand kit here, and then I would drop that in and paste it here. Cool. Then we can also add in fonts. So you have access to Canva's entire library of fonts, or you can upload your own fonts. So if you go to a site like Creative Market or My Fonts or something like that, then you could upload those fonts here by going to Add New on the right-hand side and upload a font. So I know that for this one, we're going to use this font here, but if I wanted to change it, then I would just click on this little drop down. I could search for a font, or I could even look through different keywords if I'm not really sure, if I'm still trying to like put this visual look together, right? So if I want a display font, then I could go here and sort through all of those different fonts. So for now, I'm going to leave it as it is. And if you are filling out this area, I recommend that you at least fill out the heading, the subheading, and the body, because you'll see once we start customizing templates, that's where Canva is going to pull from to know, hey, which fonts are we adding to this template? And that's where it's going to pull from. You can also add in your brand voice. So if you are going to use any of the generative writing within Canva, this is the tone of voice that it will use. So you could put in like playful, fun, quirky, and then when you go to generate an Instagram caption, it's going to use the language that's here in this tone of voice. We've also got all of our photos, and then you see that I've even added in a graphic here for the texture that was used a lot in the background of a lot of the slides. Okay, that's it for Brand Kit. Let's jump into the pitch deck, okay? So because we are all good students and we've set up our brand kit, Now we can quickly customize this template. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is go over here to design, and you'll see that we have templates, layouts, and styles. And so I'm going to go to styles here, and this is where our brand fonts and our colors are. And so I'm going to click on brand fonts one time, and it's going to automatically change all of the fonts on this first page. But I want it to do that for every page. I don't want to have to go through every single page and change the fonts because that takes too much time. So once I click it one time, you'll see at the bottom, there's this little purple button that says apply to all pages. And if I click on that, now you can see at the bottom that it has changed the fonts on every single page to match our brand fonts. And we can do the same thing with the colors right here by clicking one time, and we can shuffle through a couple different times to see which one we like the most. And then once you're happy, again, we're going to go to apply to all pages, and you'll see that down here, all of the pages in our design now match our fonts and our colors. Y'all, that is crazy, right? Saves so much time. That's like the one mic drop moment in all of my workshops that people are like, I've been using Canva for 3 years and wasted so many hours of my life. And thank you for that. So you're welcome for that one, because I know it's going to save you a ton of time. All right. The other thing that we can
be like a big like alarm pointing to that button, because I
for
feel like
real, it's
if you don't
sneaky.
know that button exists and then you find out years down the line, you're like,
What have I been doing with my
what have
life?
I done?
Exactly. So the other thing that we did, we loaded up all of those different photos, right? On the left-hand side over here, we have brand. And this is where we're going to see things like our logo, all those fonts, all the photos that we've added, and then the graphics as well. So we could add in this background here, and I'm going to right click on that, and we'll do replace background. So now it will become the background. And I'm going to change all of these to one of the lighter colors. And I'm pretty sure that there was like a glow effect, right? In the Bliss Talent text. So
Yes.
let's edit this here.
Hot
And
pink glow.
yeah. And so y'all are going to get a little text effect tutorial here. So we'll change the text color to the pink in our color palette right here. And then in this top toolbar, I'm going to click on effects. And Canva has this neon effect right here. So if I click on that, we can change the intensity. And now we're getting pretty close. I don't know exactly what the intensity was that Elvira used, but we're getting close. All right. All right. So we'll move this up. Boom, boom. And then I think one of the other things is we mentioned the scrapbooking, right? So there was like really cool torn paper textures throughout. And so I found some of those here within Canva by going to the Elements tab, and I just searched for ripped paper and then went to graphics. You'll also see some of these under photos. And you may not have known this, but you can actually star your favorite elements, illustrations, photos, or you can sort them into a folder. So if you know that there's something that you're going to want to use a lot, then you would just hover over that, click on these 3 dots right here, and then you'll see that it says see more like this, add to folder. So add to folder, I would add this to Bliss Talent, and then add to folder. And in order to find those, we're going to go to projects on the left-hand side here. This is where all of our folders are, same as on the home page. And let's see, I'll just search my folders for Bliss Talent, go to folders, open this up, and then there's the textures that I've added, right? So I could add this one. I know this wasn't the exact one, so we'll go with this one here because I think this is closer to what Elvira used. All right, and then a little bit like this. I'm going to position this, go to layers. We can drag this back. And then we don't really need these because these aren't quite on brand. But you can see we're starting to make this our own, right? With all of the different textures and stuff that we've got. I'm going to go back to brand on the left-hand side here. And let's add in our logo. And boom. right? So we could customize this as much as we want to, and then move to the next page. Same thing. Since we have brand open over here on the left-hand side, I'm going to go to our photos and open that up and just click and drag, and it's going to automatically replace that. And if you ever want to like crop your photos, then you just have to double click on it, and then you'll be able to like move this around so you could get the exact part of the photo that you want. This photo is so great, by the way.
So stupid. I love this photo.
She's so fearless, Rachel. She's just,
You can feel it through these screenshots here.
yeah.
So good. All right, so that's how you can add in some of your photos. That's how you can customize it. But one of the really cool things about Canva is that they do have an integration with Shot Deck, right? And so let's say, I think down here we have a slide for visual references. So this is going to be where I'll add in some of that. And to find the Shot Deck integration, we're going to go to the left-hand side here and go to Apps, and we'll search for Shot Deck. And there it is right there. I've already connected my account, but the first time you do this, you'll be prompted to add in like your credentials, login information. And so let's see, it was Waiting for Guffman or The Comeback. Was it Best in Show? Why do I have Best in Show?
Waiting
Was
for
that
Guffman.
one of them?
Yeah.
That
I mean,
was
it's
it.
any Christopher Guest movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So now we have like all of these film. We've got these photos right here from the film that we can add in to our design. And we can move things around. Right. So you have so much power at your fingertips because it's not just the Canva library, but you have access to the Shot Deck library, which is a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing, right? And then another thing that you can do is add in pages. So if you open up a template and you're like, yo, I love everything here, but it's missing a few pages. So for instance, you see that in this template, we have a bunch of Polaroids. Maybe we want to add in something like that, and we want to have like a page for the cast. So we'll go over here to the left-hand side to design. And this time we're going to go to templates. And I'm just going to search for Polaroid. But you can see I actually already have one right here, right? So we'll open this one up, and I'm going to open up this first page. So we're going to do the same thing where we can customize this template by going back to design. We'll go to styles here again, and boom, change this out, swap out the colors, and then back to brand. And we could just start to add in all of our photos. That is, that is a great one, by the way. Right. So you're not limited with, you're not stuck with the template that you first opened up. You can still start to like customize things. And then the last thing that I'll show you is that you can also add in things like social posts. So if you have like a reel that you want to showcase in your pitch deck, then you can bring that in directly from Instagram. And the way to do that would be either to copy the URL of the Instagram reel directly from Instagram, or you can bring it in by using the Instagram integration by going to apps and then searching for Instagram. And again, when you first open this up, it'll ask you to like log into your account. I've already done that here. So it's showing me like the different carousels that I have on my account, all the different assets here. And so I would just click on any one of these. It's automatically added in. And the beautiful thing is that there's no watermark. It doesn't say like Instagram Reels on the side. Like when you try to download it from Instagram, sometimes it will do that. And then we can actually play it from right here within our presentation. Pretty amazing.
That's crazy. I haven't used that yet, and I'm so excited to use it.
It's a good one. And I think it will automatically add it to the uploads videos, yeah, in your account. So if you need to come back and you want to use it again, then you can. All right, that's it for this segment, y'all. Stay tuned for the next one.
Stay tuned. I also want to be mindful of time. I feel like we have so much to cover, and I want to move a little quickly, and really talk about why we're here to celebrate you, my dear, is the series format deck, outstanding deck award winner at SeriesFest season 11 for Bliss Talent. And talk about what a series format deck is and really what that is as part of applying for SeriesFest. And which, oh, hot off the press, we are open for submissions as of yesterday for season 12 in 2026, May 6th through the 10th. And we require a series format deck for all of our applications, not just because of our wonderful partnership with Canva, but because it's a way for filmmakers to then talk about their idea as a series. So if you wouldn't mind kind of giving any advice about what to make sure you're including, how to maybe distill some of those ideas, because it's not a Bible where you're going to have 45 pages and expanding on episodes and detail. It's pretty condensed. So you mastered this art, my friend. Well, I'd love to get your advice.
Well, first of all, I think you guys provide a template for the series deck, which I feel like I've used every year as a starting point. And it's incredibly helpful. And also just like, it's just such a good tool in fighting that like the dread of the empty page. So I would just right off the bat start with that because, and I would I would start with that like early on because it like helps you figure out like, okay, do I need this episode actually? Like, do I need this character? Like truly, I mean it's just such a great tool. So I feel like I know it has like the season overview, the like series description, it has like director statements, creator statements, cast and crew page. It's also a really good, like once you have your deck that you submit to SeriesFest, it like other festivals will ask you for an EPK and it is only like a few changes that you have to make. So if you make this series deck, you will already have like pretty much a ready-made EPK, which is an electronic press kit, which I don't even know what if there's a huge difference. I think the major difference is like cast and crew, like you just need like a little more on the bio page for the cast and things like that. But yeah, it's just like such a great jumping off point. And the other thing is like it makes you creatively, it like really makes you nail down the clarity because you're not there to talk about it. It's just like, at the end of the day, because you're submitting it on Film Freeway, it's just like a PDF that you're sending off. And so, it kind of forced us into a lot of conversations of like, we think this is really funny because we were there and it was funny on set, but is it funny? Like, is it funny to a person who hasn't been there? Like, and so it kind of made us really look at the series as like, okay, if we're not in the room and we had to sell it to somebody who like doesn't know us or maybe knows us and doesn't think we're funny, like how can we make this funny on its own as its own document? And it makes you kind of be brutally honest with yourself. Like it makes you become your own development exec in a way, because you're just like, I know that me, Elvira, thinks it was so funny when they were doing this, but like no one else finds this funny. So I'm cutting this because like this other thing is just like universally and like very clearly funny. So that was just a very useful thing. And I'm sure that is one of the things that helped us win the award because of the clarity. And then I don't know, there's just, I feel like I said this on the little blurb that we did for this workshop, but like I scoured all of the tools and I really found things that would make like the show seem funny and would make Rachel look stupid, because I was like, I knew that like the stupider I made Rachel look, the funnier this thing is. And we were both like constantly like, how can we make this character look so freaking dumb? And, you know, like the page numbers, like her popping up, like, because she is somebody who's like, she pops up, you don't really want her there. And I was like, oh, that's funny. That like sells, you know, it's so simple, but it like kind of like pushes that narrative forward of like, this woman is such a big character. She's so like, thinks her presence is welcome, but it's not welcome anywhere. Like even her own son doesn't like her. And so I think that that was something that I was like, oh, I'm looking through these like very technical tools, but like so many of them can help us with the storytelling. And obviously like that doesn't end up in the PDF, but I feel like we shared the final like interactive link with you guys.
Yeah, yeah.
Which also the interactive link, I was able to use GIFs because that was like the one thing I was like, the scene as a GIF like sells the show so much, but picking a still from like a certain scene, I was like, I can't pick. It's everything is gold. I can't pick, but like a GIF is like you get to have your cake and eat it too. So I feel like for the interactive link, which I so appreciated having this like live link that I could keep updating. I used a lot of GIFs for like these really funny physical moments. I mean, there's a ton of physical comedy in this. There's like children dancing and like smoking and like the, you know, people just fighting and like knocking each other over. And so that was just like, it was so funny. And I don't know. I guess I don't know how to use GIFs in other programs, to be honest. So this was like another really helpful thing. And it made me like evaluate each scene in a very like removed sort of like managerial way.
Yeah, I think when I was thinking about, not just like the benefits of us on the programming side, getting the deck and like seeing where you've made it your own to really explore the tone and like you're hitting the beats that we asked you for because we need to kind of evaluate it in that way. But it was really like taking off the creative hat and putting on the business hat, right? When you've gotten your project done and now you're headed to market, and that's like a totally different skill to sharpen for a lot of people. And I want make sure you're putting questions into the Q&A because I want to open this up to any questions as we kind of are in our last few minutes here. And we'll go a little over if that's okay, just to make sure everyone has a moment. But my last question to you is, you have had a lot of festival success. You've not only been at SeriesFest, but Nashville Film Festival, I believe, is what, like this weekend, and you guys are there. We see you on the circuit. We see you doing this. How do you, like, if you could give a piece of advice of taking off that creator hat and that creative hat and having the artistry be a part of your DNA, but you have to switch into business mode and start selling this, what is a piece of advice you could give to our audience?
Honestly, I think I'm lucky in that I do this on the side as like a living. So I get hired a lot to create people's like posters and pitch decks and storyboard for them. And having been on both sides of it, like being the director who's like, no, this is the most brilliant thing, and you don't understand. And then also being like the other person who's like, it's not that brilliant, like I think you're on, but like, let me help you. I don't know, like I've been with like friends where you just like, you want your friends to tell you like, hey, that thing that you think is like so brilliant and it's going to cost us so much money and like an extra day of shooting, it's like not even going to make the final cut. So I think that like when I'm making my own deck, which a lot of you guys will be making your own deck, I just put myself into the friend mode where I'm giving like harsh notes, and like oftentimes like I'll pretend like I'm trying to save my friend money by like, taking out these like crazy ideas that maybe don't serve the project that well. There may be like an idea that they brought in from another project and they're trying to shoehorn it into this, and like somebody who's very impartial needs to be the person to be like, hey, this idea belongs in a different project. It's like brilliant, but it's like, it's not going to serve this project. It's going to hurt this project. And so I think because I have experience with like a ton of clients where like they do appreciate that. And I have a lot of like commercial clients who it's almost helpful to work with them because like they don't really have a lot of attachment to the artistic sort of like non-clear ideas. Like they want to all sit down in a room and be like, how can we make this really, really clear? You know, I have clients who are like doing pitch decks for like different offices in different countries, and that's where like clarity is everything. You cannot be like, this is so nuanced for this region. And so I think like I would just do that for yourself. I would take a day and put on the hat of
Step away.
I'm my own, I'm the producer on my team who does not who does not care at all about like this crazy artistic tilt, and then go back obviously, like, you know, this should be like your own, you know, ultimately do what you want, because like probably like your most artistic inner self is what's gonna get you winning festivals. But yeah, I think the like becoming like your own marketing exec, becoming like your own like hard line producer for a day will really help sort of trim the fat and just make it clear. I think clarity is like really important.
That's great. That's wonderful. I think Roger's going to come back one more time. How exciting. And show off some final features. And again, like, please put your stuff in the chat. We've got a little extra padding time here for Q&As. Oh, and maybe also the Q&A box is another great place. I know we've got some internal folks answering questions in real time. But yeah, hi, Roger. Welcome back for our last portion of the demo. This has gone so fast.
That's right. We are in the final stretch. Do not tune out, y'all, because the last stretch here is going to contain some of the juiciest portions. Okay. I literally saved the best for last. And so one of the things Elvira talked about was how she loves spreadsheets. I, on the other hand, like, despise spreadsheets. My brain just does not quite work that way. But Canva does have some production docs here on this page that you can check out. We, of course, have like our pre-production checklist right here. So we could open this up, and if you wanted to tag different people who are going to be responsible for some of these different tasks, then you could do that by highlighting one of these. You'll notice that there's a little comment bubble that pops up here, right? So you could just comment that, and I'll just assign it to myself, assign to you, click the little purple button, and then that person will get a notification saying like, hey, this has been assigned to you, and then they'll be able to go in once they complete that task and mark it as completed. So this is a really great way to kind of like track things that are happening in pre-production. Another great thing that you can check out is the ability to have film budgets, which you'll also find on that same page. So I just kind of filled this one out with a bunch of like fictional numbers. But again, looking at this makes my brain hurt. And one of the cool things that Canva offers is the ability to distill this information by using AI. And so you could actually click right here on the top left. If you click this little circle, it's going to select everything that is in this spreadsheet. And then the top toolbar has something called quick actions. And so what I would like to do is distill this information and kind of know percentage wise, how are we doing? Like what's taking up a significant amount of the budget, right? So you could do that with Magic Charts, or you could go to Magic Insights here. And you can see that I've already created a chart. But the question that I asked it was, which 3 to 5 line items make up the largest share of the entire budget? And do they align with our production priorities? And so it gave me this chart, which I've already added down here to our spreadsheet. And you can kind of see like who the culprits are that are really eating up a significant part of the budget. So we have like a visual way to see what's going on with our budget, not just numbers. Because, like I said, I ain't about that life, y'all. And so that's spreadsheets. If that's your world, then you might be ready to say, like, let's put this all in one place, right? Like I don't want to have 5 different documents like Elvira talked about. We've got Google Docs, we've got Google Sheets. And the cool thing about Canva is that they have the Visual Suite 2.0, which allows you to have multiple design types all in one place. So we have our pitch deck here, but maybe this is like an internal pitch deck. And part of what we want to share is that brainstorming process. So we can actually add in a whiteboard directly to this presentation. And so we would go over here on the right-hand side. Just make sure that you are in thumbnail view. So if you don't see it, it's because you need to click show page thumbnails down here on the bottom right. Now we can see everything. This is Visual Suite 2.0. So I'm going to click on this little arrow, and let's say that we want to add in a whiteboard here. But I've already created one, right? We started with one at the beginning of this session, and that's hanging out over here under projects, and it should show under like my recent designs. All right, so we have our TV and film plot. So if I just click right here, I'm gonna go ahead and open this up, and boom, it's automatically added to the same file as our pitch deck. So I can drag this over here. So if we're working with the team, like, hey, here's the script synopsis, here's how we got there, right? We can just click from one thumbnail to the next, all in one convenient location. We could do the same thing if we wanted to add in that document that we had worked on earlier with the summary. And we'll just go back here to our projects. We've got our pre-production. Yeah, let's just add that one in. We'll just click here. So now we have our pre-production checklist, again, all in one convenient location. Now, this would be really messy if you tried to send this to someone because you're trying to get everything greenlit, right? But the great thing about this view is that we can hide certain pages, or we could make a copy of this and then delete what pages we don't need. So if we wanted to hide that page, then we would select that thumbnail here, click on these 3 dots, and then you'll see that it says hide page. So now this is grayed out. So if we were to send this out to someone, we could see that link, or we could see that page, but they would not be able to see that page. Pretty amazing.
Very amazing.
And then, of course, once you're ready to present, right? It's time to present. Then you're going to go up here to share. Let me go here. There we go. We're going to go up here on the right-hand side, click on present. And you can do presenter view, which is amazing because you'll be able to see like all these extra notes right here. I just want to make sure, can y'all see my presenter window? The one I'm shaking around right now?
I don't think so. I think we see audience window.
Okay, so let me share this one here.
This is making me want to start another project. Like, I'm like, oh, it's so fun.
Yeah. Okay, can y'all see this now?
I just saw in the chat we're blowing minds, so this is
Here we
great.
go. This is it. Right. So this is what you will see when you're presenting. And so you can add in notes right here. So if you know that there's a couple extra things that you want to say about the script synopsis, like, so excited to have Elvira on this project or whatever, like whatever your notes are, these are things that you're seeing that no one else is seeing because this is your presenter window. And you can also see at the bottom, like what slides are coming up. And you could have different notes on each one of these slides. So it really looks like you know what you're talking about. Like, wow, they memorized the whole presentation. But really, like, it's thanks to Canva and adding in these notes, right? So that's a pretty great way to share your presentation and make sure that you feel confident while sharing it. And then the other cool thing is that you see this little timer that's ticking right here. So if you only have 5 minutes to present, then you're able to kind of keep tabs on like how long you've gone, right? Like, so in this one, I know that I've gone over time during our presentation here, which is why we're speeding to the end. And then lastly is if you wanted to do this like async, let me just shift back here. y'all seeing the right one? Here we go. So if you wanted to escape, there we go. If you wanted to record yourself doing this presentation because maybe you're not going to be in person, then you would go to present right here and can't be presented in full screen. Okay, maybe we can't do that. I think maybe we can't. Rebby, I didn't know we can't present and record with multiple.
Maybe because we're on the Zoom. Maybe
It could be. Yep. So there should be an option right here that says present and record, and it'll give you like that little circle around your face. It'll be on the bottom, and you'll be able to go through all of your slides as you're talking it through. So that could help even if you're just sending it to your team and you need a little bit more like zhuzh, like you need a little bit more context for whatever you're presenting, right? And then, of course, you can always download this as a PDF if you want to by going to share, download PDF. Just keep in mind, if you're like Elvira and you're obsessed with GIFs, GIFs don't work in PDFs. And so what I would recommend is that if you're going to have anything that's animated, any kind of motion, then share it as a public view link because then those people will be able to see all of that action. And so to do that, you'll go to share and go to public view link here. You'll click on create public view link and you'll copy this right here. And this is the link that you'll send out to everybody. And again, the great thing about this is that this will update in real time. So if you make a change, if you send this out and you're like, oh snap, there was a spelling error there, you can make that change in your pitch deck and it will update so that whoever's viewing it is going to have the most updated version of your design. All right, that's it, y'all. We did it.
So cool. I'm like, I gotta agree with Roxy. My mind is blown. I truly, I didn't know about the presenter thing, and that is so helpful. I just know so many people who like have to pitch to investors or like studios or whatever you're pitching, and the setup to like read your notes and follow your own presentation and still look at the camera so you can seem like a human being is usually like multiple screens. And it's, it's like, this is so helpful. I'm totally going to use that because we are about to pitch a feature to like some investors, and I'm sure a lot of it will be remote. And yeah, that's like, oh God, Roger.
We love it. Yes, Roger is always imparting his wisdom, and I hope everyone else on this call is feeling the same way, is walking away with new things you want to try, new things you're going to apply to your creative process, and hopefully apply to SeriesFest as well. But a couple of last housekeeping things just to wrap up. We would love your feedback. We'll send a link out as well to the post-workshop survey, but we genuinely read everything that people share. So tell us what you love, tell us what you want us to improve or what you want to see next time. And then if you loved learning from Roger, if you want to go back and kind of start from the beginning, we actually have a series of 3 free on-demand training workshops on canva.com. You can just search for Canva for Entertainment Professionals is what it's called. The QR code is here. And this starts at creative ideation and collaboration, pitching, and then to marketing and promoting your work. So it's the whole gamut. You can watch when you want, you can rewatch. These are really fantastic. And then lastly, we have 2 upcoming workshops. So this was the first of our post SeriesFest workshops. Next one on October 15th with Adam Shapiro, actor, producer, and on The Bear. You might know him from most recently with Roger alongside for the demo. And then in November, we'll be working with Alexa Junge, I think is how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Okay. Iconic shows like Friends and Grace and Frankie, and Roger will be with us for that workshop as well. So we hope you'll join us for both of those. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks for your time, for staying over a little bit. We loved having you, and we'll see you. Hopefully we'll see you next time.